it's hard for me to understand. I'm going to go back to, I believe it was game 2 against Tampa Bay. And let me just recount this for anybody who doesn't know. So entering the bottom of the 9th inning in that game, the Blue Jays had a 6-5 lead. And then Schneider turned the ball over to Romano. Of course, you're going to bring your closer. He's been the guy for a long time and one of the best closers in baseball. He gave up 3 consecutive hits, which resulted in Tampa Bay tying the game. And throughout all of this, Romano kept looking at his finger. He had a cracked fingernail, which we learned after the game. And Sportsnet, the broadcast, even, showed a replay of him warming up, looking at that fingernail. After every pitch, he looked at it. Before every pitch, he looked at it. So it was obviously an issue. It was hurting him. And it didn't look like it hurt his execution of his pitches that much, but he was giving away some hits. He got a strikeout in that inning as well. Anyway, lefty Tim Meza was warming up. I emphasize left because Josh Lowe, who came up to bat, struggles against lefties. He's a switch hitter, but against lefties, he hits 220. Against righties, you're looking at 290, 70 RBIs. Big difference there. Schneider decided to leave him in. After a mound visit, by the way, with the trainer. Hey, Romano, you okay? You doing all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Keep me in. He decided to trust his guy and go with his guy. What happens next, as we all know, Romano first pitch, opposite field single, the Rays walk it off and win. This seems to be a trend with John Schneider at the moment. Some of his, you can question some of his decisions with starters in the rotation, some bullpen decisions. You can go back to Alejandro Kirk on third base. He didn't pinch run for him late in the game on third. Why he didn't do that, no one really knows. He didn't really give a valid excuse to that reasoning. But do you think, as good as the Blue Jays are and can be, can John Schneider be the one to hold them back this postseason if they make it in?
It's tough. It is tough, and I'm fully with you. It's sort of like, what is Meza warming up for if not that situation, right? There's no reason for him to be hot there if he's not coming in to face that guy and turn him around. So he's not facing. I think there's 2 lefties in there that he gets through, and not only that, you also burned Romano the day before. He threw 20 plus pitches and getting 4 outs in a game they won by 4 runs. Not using Swanson in that spot when they could have to probably seal out a tough 8th inning and then cruise through the 4-run 9th. It's funny, the John Schneider issues only seem to happen in big games. It's like the weirdest thing. I'm not saying that as like it's a narrative thing. It's like literally every one of the like, what is Schneider doing, ends up being last year's playoffs. The hook on Gosman was like a little, you're like, I don't know if that would have been the thing. There was earlier this year in one of the big spots, leaving Bassett in a little bit longer, some pinch hitting. You mentioned the lack of pinch running or the pinch running decisions. You have, Santiago Espinal was pinch hitting sometimes. He's a rookie manager. He is a rookie manager. You can't dance around that. And whether that's going to matter or not, we will see. This could be a matter of just sort of putting the most, the John Gibbons, Cito Gaston method, just put the most talented guys out there and they're the players and they will do it. But yeah, these little micro decisions, this is what makes it so tantalizing, the playoff baseball, is it's the little micro things, the little inches here and there, the plays that do or don't get made, the pitchers that are and aren't there, the calls on the edges. It's an edge that they may not have. This is an advantage they may not have against a lot of teams. You have some teams with some very good managers left in this spot, and that's going to be the chess match. I think ultimately, the Romano one is, you ultimately do see, like, right, like as you said, you see the logic of like, he's your closer and you trust him and you go with him, and if he tells you on the mound he's good to go, you probably trust him. But again, the ultimate of that is, so what is Meza doing? Like, what situation is he warming up for? Because if they got out of it, it would be the next inning and he'd been warming up for an extra 10 minutes for no real reason. It doesn't really add up, similar to the pinch run thing where it's like he gave an explanation, but it almost made it worse, where you're like, okay, if that's the explanation, I'm actually more upset than I would have been.
Right.
It's going to rear its head at least once. At least one thing is going to happen where we get questioning. That's the whole point of the manager. It'll be a referendum, because this is a third manager for this front office. They started with Gibbons, they went to Charlie, now they have John, who is more or less their guy. We will see. I think I have faith that ultimately, you look at, you've already used the Phillies before, but they replaced their manager mid-season last year, and he ended up taking them to the World Series based solely on, like, we're hitting more home runs, so I don't know what you want me to do. I feel the same way about this, as if Vladdy and Springer are hitting, it makes John Schneider's job a lot more easy. But there are some hints here and there that they may have to survive in spite of some decisions coming up.
Yeah, that decision with Romano really baffled me. It bothered me, actually. I was watching the game, and we can clearly see that it's affecting him. I mean,
Yes.
This is such an important game in September against Tampa Bay, a team you might play in the wild card. Make the decision. You got to override your guy sometimes. I mean, we're watching it. We're like, this clearly bothering him. Get the lefty in there. And maybe the same thing happens. But the correct decision, in my opinion, is you get that guy out of there. Hey, listen, we got to save you for another day. We're going to give us the best shot to win this game. And you made a great point by saying, listen, he's a rookie manager. And I've been saying this all season long. Unfortunately, he's learning on the job. And he's learning on a job with the team that was, expected to challenge for a division title. Was expected to challenge for potentially a World Series, at least represent the American League. And, I mean, he's kind of in an unfortunate position, if that makes sense, for a rookie manager, where you get put into a team that has such high expectations. But listen, when you're in that position, there's a reason why you're the manager. You got to make these decisions, even if you're inexperienced, right?
Absolutely. These tough calls are only going to get tougher. Nothing is getting easier in the next 2 weeks, that's for sure.